Get nice and cozy. Okay, we're now recording. We're doing it now. So now we're doing the thing.
Okay.
Testing still. Can we hear the noise? Is the noise even going?
I think it just stopped.
All right. If anybody actually listens to this podcast, I apologize for the weird, crazy wind noise that is coming through the door.
The spaceship taking
We record this at a public podcast studio at our downtown library, so we don't really have control of much of what's going on here, but it's really nice and practical and it's free. So that's why we're recording it on there.
Didn't know this existed till today.
Yeah, but it's dope. It's actually really cool. It's super nice. It's fancy, state of the art. I don't know how to use anything. It took me, how long have we been here now? 20 minutes?
Something like that.
20 minutes just to figure out how to press record and make sure we could hear ourselves and
it could
get the
take
audio
it
on there.
a lot longer.
Yeah.
Like a way longer.
Yeah. Well, that's why I came in and did it beforehand. So if
Yeah.
anybody listened to that podcast beforehand, dude, the video that I uploaded to YouTube of the other podcast,
Yeah.
that got more views than my that video's not public. I only the people that I sent it to could see it. So that got more views than my Alien Romulus review.
Hey, I mean, we have a following.
Yeah.
We just have to spread the word.
Yeah, spread the gospel. Before we were, whoever was in here before us looked like it was some Jesus preaching thing. So there's like a business card and it says, what does it say up there? Jesus loves you or God bless you.
He does.
So there's a whiteboard in here. So, well, I guess we're on video, aren't we? So I don't have to describe everything, but there's a whiteboard right here that has some Jesus love.
Yeah, our loyal following, for those of you who are the video watchers, versus
the giant fan base.
Only the audio people.
Yeah. So this podcast is basically just going to be Cody and I talking about movies, TV shows, video games, and honestly, I've said this to a few people that I've told about starting this. I kind of want to just be able to talk about whatever I want to talk about. It's just one of my favorite things are movies and TV shows and video games, so that can be like kind of the premise. So I will probably have guests on at some point if people ever actually start listening. It'll be sweet.
Big time names.
Yeah,
you
big time.
You do not. We have a lineup
Matt
already. You guys are not ready for.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It'll be super fun. So that's kind of the goal and what we're doing of this. I've just always wanted to start a podcast. All I listen to are podcasts. So with this, I found out that there was this studio down here, and I was like, all right, fuck it. This is what we're doing.
Why not one more to add to the millions?
Yeah.
It's no harm,
Why
no
not?
foul.
Yeah, all you need is a tight-knit little community if you can get anybody in there. So I just literally sent Cody a text one day, and I was like, so do you want to do a podcast? And he's like, oh. And now here we are.
Even like I texted it, it was funny because my immediate gut reaction to anyone just being like, hey, start a podcast. I'm like,
cringy.
No, that's off the bat. But I think that's just the gut reaction of someone who also, I sit at home on YouTube and I'm like scrolling through. I'm just like podcast. But I do have the ones that I watch that I love.
Yeah.
That I still keep up with. So it's all personal preference in the end. And I agree with you where like, this isn't like we're making money on this.
No,
like this is my
fun.
career. Like, no, this is just straight
fun.
up a place where we're older now. You don't have a lot of time, like free time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of weird to say, but we have like a scheduled time to be like, we can just BS and talk about movies, TVs, video games. That's really it. Because as we know, we just can sit and talk for hours about it.
Yeah. Cody and I used to live together, and what was Dune? When Dune came out, Dune 2 came out. We probably spent 45 minutes, an hour in the kitchen just talking about how amazing that movie was. So I was like, Cody would be a good one to do that because I could bounce off him.
We were supposed to see that together.
Yeah.
And then I saw it alone and still loved it just as much as one of the best theater experiences I've
Legendary
had
movie.
in
Legendary
a while.
movie. I saw it twice. I haven't had, maybe I've had some moments where I just see some stuff as a kid in theaters, but I've never had moments with the feelings that I've had watching Dune 2 in the worm riding scene and the sound effects of that, because I saw it in Dolby, which I think Denis Villeneuve said that's how you're supposed to see it. I don't remember if it was IMAX or if it was Dolby, but
I'm not huge on IMAX, but the Dolby I think is worth. Like
Yeah.
I'm all about, I think like movies come in two pieces. Yes, what you're watching, and then the other half is what you hear.
Yeah.
It's
Rattle
so
my brains out.
important.
Rattle
It is
my brains
so the audio design of that movie is like just next level. And like I said, dude, seeing it by myself and then actually going, like just sitting in a theater and being like, there were so many people, also packed house. It's weird to actually have a packed house as people walk by.
yeah, there's a little viewing thing people can watch.
That's so uncomfortable, but that's part of the game.
It's fine.
Looking around, having like a packed house for that movie, and like just having so many moments throughout the theater to be like, is everyone else?
Yeah, are we all feeling this?
Is everyone else understanding like how sick this is, how cool it is? like you're saying, dude, it's on HBO now or Max or whatever. And so I've just gone back and rewatched the worm riding scene like many times because it is such a good scene where I've
so
reread
good.
the part in the book too where like they got it so well where you see everything from start to finish. Obviously, the logistics of a human riding a giant worm is like you can only go so far before it's crazy.
It
but
sounds insane.
They actually went through the effort to be like, you watch Paul getting on, and then the moments where he's struggling, he's like flying off it, he has to get a hold with his other hand, and then they show him actually turning the worm from the side because he's on the side, not on the top. And he has to turn the worm from its side to come and make it so he's up on the top.
God, that's what's happening.
And you actually see it. You can watch like the horizon line like literally change like this.
Those are the little
which
things.
you're doing like it because it's so sandy you can't see much, but they do just enough to be like, here's that horizon line, and then the music kicks in right as he like gets his footing. It's just that first Dune movie. You hear that part, and I was like, is that cringy or not? It almost is the first time, but then by Dune 2, when that noise kicks in, hey,
dude, it became a staple.
I'm like, now you're excited. Yeah, now you know what's coming, and it's so good.
I said this about that movie when it came out. One of my favorite things about it is that it's a kind of crazy universe with really cool sci-fi things. But I've been realizing this a lot more because I've been trying to understand production of movies and how things work in the background and seeing how things come together and how they make things feel real. So movies that don't do a good job at it, I notice a lot more now. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of taken out because I can see that they're just on a green screen, or I can see that they have a really shitty production set or whatever it is. Dune 2 is one of the movies where I have felt the most engulfed and like immersed into a universe that I have like ever felt.
Yeah.
Everything feels real. Everything feels awesome. It feels like they're really there. Everything just, you feel like you were in there, which is really important for a 3-hour fucking movie.
Yeah, it's such a beast. As a part 2, I've had multiple people like, I've raved about part 2 so much. They're like, do I need to see part 1? And I'm like,
you should.
It's literally part 1 and part 2. It's not like sequel. It's not a
same movie.
Yeah, it's the same story. Yes, I do think you need to see part 1, but I also kind of think if you were to just watch part 2, there's no way you're not coming out of it being like, there's at least one moment where you're like, whoa, that was sick.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to know what's happening on screen is insane.
The scene that I bring up is like the intro scene where the Sardaukar, or I don't know if they are the Sardaukar or if they're just the other guys.
I think
why can't I think of the bald white people? What are their names?
Harkonnens.
The Harkonnens. I think it's just Harkonnen soldiers.
I say
and
Harkonnen.
They're like, I don't know what they say. I say, he's like, go high or something, whatever. They turn on their anti-gravity thing.
Yeah.
And the sound design and them floating up. This seems like something that would sound so stupid and look so dumb in a lesser movie. But because they just start floating. You know, there's these super soldiers and they just start floating. But the way that they like climb and push themselves up with the anti-gravity suits and land up on top. And then the sound design of the dead silence thing and then the body landing right in front of Paul.
Yeah.
I was like, God, this is just right off the bat. This movie's
super
sick.
like, you're right. The dead silence of Paul and Jessica like hiding down below. And then like super like obviously they crank the volume on the thud because of how like jarring it needs to be to see that body hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that where they're like lifting themselves and they it's not the like progression of, oh, they have like jetpacks probably. I think that's Dune does the perfect job for anyone who's just even a casual viewer. They put enough in where you're watching to be like, that's clearly not a jetpack, but it's also clearly not like nothing. Like you have to like piece it together almost and watch it and to be like, oh, they hit this little thing and it's like we're in space. It's like hitting so hard on the sci-fi is so big. Just seeing like the Emperor's ship roll into orbit,
the tech.
And like
the tech,
all the costume designs, all the stuff like with the still suits and getting the water out of the bodies, everything, like seeing them do that was so big. It's right, like seeing a prop get built just to do this one thing, and that's all it is. I need to see that to prove that like you guys actually care to some extent, honestly. Yeah, and it's like times 10 across the board.
Yeah, So you know how there's cyberpunk and steampunk. Dune is so special and unique that there is a Dune punk now to me. There is an aesthetic to Dune. There's an aesthetic to the universe. Their tech is so cool. It's unique. The way they depict the shields and how fast things can't go through it, but slower things like blades can go through it. Those mines that come out of the ground, the crab walkers, the way that's just
the mines. I remember
laser guns.
The mines in part 2. I remember thinking were so sick. How they just like you don't know what it is, but it just and then like hauls ass straight at them, and they're like, "Get the F out of the way! This thing's going fast."
Yeah, and the view and the like spectacle of when they use those lasers to take down their ships, and it just like slowly like goes straight through it and just makes it explode.
Like they get big explosions that are regular explosions that so sick looking. In the part 1, they get the whole like taking over and like killing of all the Atreides family.
The scale.
They get to do the cool explosions where they have the shields on the ships, and you watch like the explosion inside the shield happen, and then it like goes, and then it goes all the way out. I was like, that's crazy, because it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it's logics, but like based off how you've described the world and shields, that makes sense. That like something went inside the shield. It had to go at that speed to go in, and then it detonates. It's still within the shield, and the speed stuff doesn't work, but the power eventually just overthrows it. And it's like, you get 2 seconds of time to show that visually, and I now have so much more ideas and perspective, and like just, I don't know, attachment and care to the world in general. Where I'm like, okay, they've thought of it. They've at least thought of this in everything.
Yeah, and I really liked the first Dune. I didn't love it. Definitely nothing like Dune 2. But I still remember just watching the scene of those ships blowing up when they're taking over. I'm like, this movie has a different level of scale and a different level of feel. Yeah. And then once they figure that out, and after they do the build-up movie and then get into the movie where it's just 3 hours of crazy action and awesomeness happening the whole time, I'm like, oh, it makes me love the first movie when I didn't love it before. I liked it. And it makes me think that Dune Part 2 is like one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, and
that's a bold statement.
You need to get on. I was talking to Fagan about it at the bachelor party, but you need to get on Letterboxd. I might have mentioned it at some point.
I think I've heard of that.
It's just a like movie reviewing app, but almost like a social media platform for people who like movies. So you can just whatever you're watching, you can just like add a journal thing, and you put the movie in that you watched it. You give it like out of 5 stars. You can write a review if you want. But then you can like follow your friends and like see what they're watching at times. And so Fagan was big, and he's like a lot more big into movies these days, he said. And I was like, oh, dude, I love watching movies.
Has he got the AMC Movie Pass?
I don't know. He probably does. But get on that. And it's like super easy, because it's also like we could just organize everything.
That'll make this a lot easier.
That I think it would help so much. I've like over time, every now and then, like once a day I go in and I like add in a couple more movies where I'm like, oh, that's right, that movie I love.
Yeah.
This one I hated for some reason. Like, and I try to be as accurate as I can be without wanting to be biased, and also knowing like my opinion is just my opinion. And so like there's some movies where I like might purposely be like, dang, that's like a 2-star. Like it's just not it. And then some things like 5 out of 5, like Dune Part 2, 5 out of 5. I was like, no questions asked for me.
Yeah, in my YouTube videos, I make sure to say that when I'm reviewing movies, is that my scores that I give them, because I like to give scores. Some people don't like to give scores, but I like to give it an out of 10 score.
Yeah.
I say that this is my opinion on the movie. This is not what I think of this movie objectively, whether or not it's a good movie. Because I gave Alien Romulus an 8 out of 10, and I gave Twisters a 7 out of 10. Yeah. Those movies are not 1 point apart. Twisters is not like a good, objectively good movie, where I think that Alien Romulus is like objectively like, this is a good movie.
It totally just depends on the mood you're into. I think that's what's important about like movies and stuff, is always knowing like obviously, like we said, like if you want to go out and watch a Marvel movie, I'm probably not the first guy you're going to ask. And I'm never going to feel offended by it, because I've made it known, like, they're not my style. And
not anybody's style anymore.
And like, and it's not to say I wouldn't go see one. There are occasionally the superhero movie, like, kind of an offshoot. Like Batman almost doesn't count. He's almost like Batman's its like own genre almost in itself.
Those two Batman, the is it Matt Reeves?
The new ones.
Yeah, it's Matt Reeves and the Christopher Nolan ones. They're even almost different genres.
Yeah, you can...
the
like,
Batman movies within themselves.
They took Batman and made it more of a, like, you can almost make any movie you want out of Batman.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
There's a comedy.
They have a
Batman
way...
and Robin or whichever
over the top, super...
campy.
Like, super campy. And so, when it comes to some of the, like, superhero, quote-unquote stuff, it's always like, I can still have my moods that I get in where I'm like, none of these other movies I don't want to see. But you know what actually sounds fun is maybe having a couple laughs, watching some dudes kick some butt, and like not caring.
Yeah, they're
Like
just,
there
they're
is
fun.
a mood and a time and a place where I'm totally down for that. Like John Wick 4.
Yeah, legendary.
That's probably
legendary.
also one of my favorite movies I've seen in theaters in the last 10 years.
Fucking man.
I had like that hit every mark that I wanted from one dude gets to kill everyone on screen in the coolest way
In the coolest
possible.
way, top
That's
down,
all I
dragon's breath.
want. And people want to be like, how is he alive? I could care less. If he
Yeah,
if he dies, I don't get to see more. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I
I
want
wanted
to
to
see
kick
more.
ass.
Like they do such a, and it's so much poise and effort put into like just action scenes in general. Like you know, like the whole dragon's breath scene. They do like a crazy sick, like video game esque, like let's watch it from the top down. You
And
get
it's
the
long.
whole shot of like the whole building and just watching him every reload, all the guys coming in and out. And it's like, this is so cool to see from a perspective of anything that's just not jump cuts. And like, I don't know, the story is the fight. It's not
Yeah.
like, that's the whole difference
Yeah,
between.
people are complaining about the story. That's not
Yeah.
what you're going to see John Wick for.
I'm
man.
like-
they're like, nothing that happened made any sense. It was like, who cares? But at
Yeah,
the same
I don't
time,
care.
at the same time, the story is cool that they have this underground assassins
I-
and stuff.
and
there's,
I-
books and
I give total credit to like they went more heavy on the lore throughout the like 1, 2, 3, and 4. The more you go, the more lore it gets. I almost feel my favorite still might be the first one because it hits the sweet spot of so much like you do get lore, but like just breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it's
but
not
the
much.
perfect amount to be like this dude fucks.
yeah.
Do not fuck around with him. They give
Killed
you
John
that,
Wick's dog.
like naming him the Baba Yaga and giving him
Babushka, Baba Yaga.
like all these sick monikers and just amping him up while the whole time all you've seen him is just like kind of average dude just living his life until he has to come out and show
Yeah.
motherfuckers what's up.
Yeah, Awaken the Beast.
I love that sweet spot of like you get like honestly 5 to 10 minutes of real exposition that is story based and then 75 to 80 minutes of action.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like
great. It's perfect. Masterpiece.
in every action piece, every set piece, every single thing that's happening is done so well that there's never like every kill is always just like ooh, and it just like amps it up every time, and you never can tell how they can keep doing it, and they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm just now kind of having a little bit of a moment here. Are all long ass movies really good? There's Titanic, there's Avatars, there's Batman, there's John Wick. What else am I thinking? What's another 3-hour movie? Avengers
like,
Endgame,
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Are there bad movies that are 3 hours? Maybe you just don't ever go see the bad ones that are 3 hours.
Yeah,
so you
there
don't know.
are. There definitely are. Off the top of my head, I can't like
I know, right?
necessarily think of one. But I'm like trying, and that's just also like I haven't seen every 3-hour movie.
No, yeah, obviously.
But like what I do, I am getting more into like I really want to watch Lawrence of Arabia soon.
I don't know Lawrence of Arabia.
It's
I
like
think.
4 hours, I think,
Cool.
and it's widely known as like
I got a bad
of
one.
the films, like the greatest films of all time type of thing. That is like classic, iconic, and has like it has the building blocks of like Lord of the Rings learned from Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, how
Like,
old is it?
It's 50s,
Oh,
maybe
shit.
60s. I could be
I have a
totally
hard
wrong.
time watching
totally guessing, but it's older. But you can, if you watch like clips and shots, I think even you'd agree. There's a reason it's touted as that
Really?
because like they do shots of like in the desert with these just set pieces where you're like, what time frame was this? And they're doing battle scenes and war scenes, dude. No lie, like Lord of the Rings, where there's hundreds
Really?
of people, extras on
Is it-
horseback going
Okay,
to
so it's
town.
fantasy.
Like, no, it's based on a true story of
Oh.
T.E. Lawrence, the guy who he was an Englishman. Man, I'm bad with my history, especially off the
fine.
cuff
That's
of what
fine.
it is.
We can-
But dude who's like an Englishman and sent to be a spy through the military, but ends up wanting to like free the people of Arabia from their hostile government, like whoever's in charge and has the hold on
dope.
them. But it's a true story of a real guy who went and did it, and it's like obviously 4-hour movie. You're just like, dude, 4 hours, like.
4
How?
hours is such
How
a-
do you have that much? But then again, it's true story about history. And again, probably the older sense of older movies take their time with things. Like you think dialogue in this day and age can get heady. It's like back then motherfuckers were taking like 5 minutes just to say it feels like one thought.
Oh, you're getting the anime realm. Where
Like,
you have,
yeah,
it takes 3 episodes to punch somebody.
Just so much time sometimes where I have little patience, and that's probably way recency bias of like the TikTok era of like there's times I have to tell myself like it is okay for a movie to take its time. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't have to be breakneck pace at all times. That's not a requirement.
And that's why when I was thinking about this, I was like surprised. I did think of a bad long one though, which is still the Zack Snyder Justice League. It's not bad, but it's not like great, and it's not in the level of all the movies that we talked about before that were 3 hours. That movie's like 4.5 hours or some shit.
I think the Snyder Cut's the best version of it for sure.
Yeah.
But I also agree that it's still just the product of so many ideas. It went through rewrites, and different director, got put out into theaters. Everyone saw it and was like, this shit sucks. I saw the first one in theaters, the Josh Whedon one.
Yeah.
That shit sucked.
Yeah, it's not good.
And I was already off the superhero train, so like maybe it was easy for me to do it. But at the time, I was kind of down to be like, oh, they have the Avengers. All right, the Justice League would be cool. I actually have more ties to like Superman, Batman, Wonder. Like those are
Justice
in my.
League is cooler.
Like they have more superheroes that I actually know, I think off the top of my head. So it's like, this should work, I would hope. But yeah, dude, I remember walking out. I saw it with Quest, and I was like, we both walked out, and I was like, dude, that was bad.
rough.
Like that, there was nothing about that was redeemable for me.
And if you're somebody who like tries to follow it, like I do, Marvel, the reason that it's great is everything's connected. They created cinematic universes and popularized them at least. And so following that is really cool. The build up, that's why the Avengers movies are dope. DC obviously did that to try to mimic Marvel, and they did it and rushed it, and they did not build the world well. They did not build characters. It was convoluted. It did not make sense. I didn't really care about what was happening or who they were fighting, but it could be sick.
It's like you said too. It's like Kevin Feige is the reason
Yeah.
of all of Marvel working is they actually did put the trust into a guy to say like, look, we have to do, there does need to be like a guide here. Like there has to be some sort of a plan, because if there isn't, this is what happens. And it's so true. It's like DC took clearly the side of like, enough people see superhero movies. Superheroes are big right now. All we need to do is just get out a Wonder Woman, get out a Batman, or get out a Superman, put them together, do a team up, and it's like, yikes, you guys.
They made money in the beginning too. Aquaman did $1 billion.
The first Wonder Woman, I still really like. I still really
Man
like
of
that
Steel,
movie.
I like too.
And there's just, but after that, it's true. Like Batman vs Superman should be a movie I want to go see, and I still haven't seen it.
I don't hate Batman versus Superman.
I remember
kind of like
everyone,
it, but it's not very good.
Everyone shit on it, and it's an easy way for me to be like, I don't need to watch it. But even then, I've seen clips, and even I watch those, I'm like, yeah, I'm just not fascinated enough by this right now. And maybe it's just to DC's detriment. Like, why would you go in knowing? I guess you go in knowing you might fail because you make money either way almost. Like, yeah, they might have had bombs, but I guarantee you they've made more money than they haven't.
Aquaman did $1 billion.
That's
which is insane.
Jason Momoa.
It brings the monies.
He's
dope. He doesn't work out. He hates working out. He just drinks Guinness and throws axes and rock climbs. That's what
he
Jason
is.
Momoa does.
The ultimate bro.
Yeah.
The ultimate.
Yeah.
His look, his everything.
Rides motorcycles.
I mean, that is Aquaman, is just being a bro.
Yeah. Bro. All right. We're going to try to do what the goal for this podcast actually is. We just ranted for however long that was, half hour, which is good. Obviously, that's fine. But I want to talk about, basically, I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but basically we're just going to kind of be talking. We would like to do it once a week, and we'd kind of be talking about what we've been watching or playing or just anything else that you want to bring up in the last week. So I have a couple of movies that I want to bring up. I don't think I have any TV shows or anything, but I'll start with you, Cody, and the movie that you watched. I want to hear what this is because I don't know what fuck this is. I don't even remember the title of what it. You
The
told
Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I watched.
Tell me about the Banshees.
I watched that last night. So recommended from Reese.
Really?
And me and Reese have been. No, I've known, like, we used to go watch movies. I feel like just me and him occasionally back in the day. Not as much anymore, but like we have a similar vibe of movies. And so it's a very it's like the best word. It's not a happy movie.
Is it new?
Newer. Probably lasts 2 to 3 years, I'd say at most. It's a movie about two dudes They live on an island called Inisherin in Ireland in
It's a dope ass
1923, I believe, is the year. So it's pretty old. The time frame doesn't really matter. It's just about this relationship between these two guys. But you follow like one Colin Farrell, main guy, and then Martin McDonagh, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Big Mad Eye Moody from Harry Potter.
Shit.
That is who it is.
No shit.
Big. Those two have done multiple. This is not their first movie together. They are known to be
buddies.
kind of a buddy. Like they've done a ton of different things together. So I've seen some of their other stuff. In Bruges is another one I've seen that's very similar, but it's a movie kind of just about, I don't know, relationships, life. Like you just watch people talk. It starts off with Colin Farrell's character going to meet his buddy at his house and be like, hey, you coming down to the pub at 2? Just like we always do every day. And the dude just straight ignores him, doesn't say a word. He's just like giving him the cold shoulder. And he's like, all right, dude, well, I'll see you there. And never really shows up. Doesn't know why. Goes to confront him and like talk with him. And the dude just straight up, like in the first 5 minutes, this is what you're getting hit with. The guy's like, we are not friends anymore. He's like, what? And you kind of are made to believe like these guys are like lifelong friends, have been forever.
Who's the angry guy and who's the guy down at the pub? Like which actor is who?
Colin Farrell is the nice guy.
Okay.
Literally is almost his name in the movie.
All right.
But and then the other guy would be your bad guy, I guess.
Angry guy.
Yeah, your
Mad
troubled person.
Mad boy.
You're Mad Eye. And yeah, he just straight up tells him, he's like, yeah, I don't like you anymore. We are not friends.
Tough.
And he's like, what? Like, I think how anyone would react if that was literally what you were told by a friend. Like, nope, we're done. And you just hung out the day before and we're totally fine. And then he's just like, nope, I don't like you. I don't want to hang out with you. Your conversations bore me. You are boring. I'm sorry. I only have so much time left in my life. And he's like he's a good violinist. So he wants to dedicate time to playing the violin. And he's just going to cut this dude out. And the friend is like, the whole movie is just kind of revolving around like the friend having to deal with that and trying to fix it and trying to get over it.
There's
and
really no. Well, maybe there's a plot twist.
Well,
I don't care if you tell me spoilers.
no, it's not even. I honestly like. It's
There's no
not
reason?
really spoilers because it's just how the movie. It's not about what happens. It's about how it happens, almost. I guess, and what is said. But no, there's a definite like. The friend gives him an ultimatum. He says, "Look, I don't want to see you anymore." And in order to make that happen, to know that it's going to happen, I'm going to cut a finger off of my hand every time you come talk to me and annoy me.
This is a wild movie premise.
Like the reaction anyone would have is like, huh? You're not serious, but okay. But is he? So you're like, he seems pretty dead serious. He tells them straight up like, no, this is just how it is. And like I said, it's not a happy movie. It's a lot of just like, watching people struggle through hard times, like relationships, fighting yourself, your self-identity. The guy gets labeled, Colin Farrell's character gets labeled as like dim and dull very often. Like he's almost like the dummy of the island, minus one other kid who is actually like really stupid. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. It's in the sense that like this island's only so big, everyone knows everyone. Everyone. So like there's moments where some of the characters go to like they get their rations for the week or something to get money or food or whatever, and the lady who runs the stand is like, got any news for me? And they're like, no, I don't got any news. She's like, you're boring. And they're like, what? Like,
sounds
what
like
do
a
you
weird
mean?
vibe of this movie.
Ireland. I think the culture is very different.
Oh yeah,
it's very rooted in Irish culture in like 1923 Ireland. So it's like, I obviously am not from there, don't know it. It's a weird vibe, but I found myself thoroughly entertained and into it the whole time. I was like, I'm still thinking about it, which is why I like it. It's a good movie because after it ended, I did ask myself like, what just happened? And what was the point? And the more you think about what was the point, you can come up with almost infinite points to why it exists. And
Interpretation.
it's a story about friendship.
Ruh-roh.
Broken. That vice came off.
I did this last time too.
Oh, nice.
I was just trying to move the mic.
Oh, jeez.
You can keep talking.
Yeah, it's just about, I don't know, a lot of tough times, a lot of scenes of just people screaming, getting drunk, saying the thing that like you wouldn't have said it if you were sober, but now you're drunk, so you're definitely gonna say it.
It's all coming out, baby.
And there's truth to it, and it's harsh, and there's, yeah, I'm not the best at like being like, oh, here's the real meaning behind it. And again, I think it's more to be like, you just take your own interpretation from it. That's how all movies are, but I got a lot out of it in certain ways. I related with the main character a lot at times. I related with the other friend at times. Both of them have mindsets that I think were logical at times and also clearly out of range of what needed to happen. Because it only escalates. Like the dude, he cuts off at least one finger.
Well, I want to know how the movie ends now. What the fuck happens?
I mean,
maybe I should watch it. Is it short?
Probably about 2 hours. I mean, and I like, again, all talking. Yeah. It's not like when I say a dude cuts his finger off, you don't even see it happen. It just all of a sudden it happens, and it's happened, and you're like, damn, okay. But it escalates, and things definitely get to a weird boiling point of just like, is this real? Like, did this happen? Is this a real story of someone from history that I just, it's not like I know the history of everyone, but this is a wild enough story to maybe happen. And I could almost believe that there's people out there that are fucking mental and crazy enough to be like that.
Mental.
Like, to be like, I'm going to cut a finger off if you keep talking to me, buddy. Stop it. And it's like, the guy's just too nice. He can't help it. But in the end, I would say Banshees of Inisherin, I give like, after a first watch, 4 stars.
4 stars, baby.
Right now.
Pretty good.
And I also can't tell if I like doing a 10-point scale or a 5-star scale.
I think I'm 10 because I need more
More
leeway.
range.
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid the decimals because that just gets too much.
Which because it's like I want to say a 7.
Yeah.
And a 4 if it was to double is an 8, and I wanted to go like, but
yeah, because then you go 3
the
and
5,
3.5.
because five stars is always tough. I don't know. I am more of a 10-point scale person, I think, but I also can agree with 5 stars being. You have to narrow it down.
Yeah.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's a good and a bad to saying, like, you can generalize or you can get into the nitty-gritty to really count. I think the 10 points better because I like movies too much.
We like getting into the nitty-gritty.
I don't, like, just because something was bad doesn't mean I didn't get something out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
That sounds pretty dope. I might actually check it out because now I want to know what happens in this damn movie.
Yeah, that's what I watched last night.
Sounds a little free. What'd you watch it on?
I streamed it. Not illegally.
Nope,
Would
not
never
illegal.
do that.
No, we don't do that.
But I streamed it.
Yeah, okay, nice. So do you have another thing too? We're gonna go to mine too. We'll alternate. But do you have another?
I've got a few.
Okay, I only have a couple things. So I'm just gonna do the newer movie that I watched because one of them's you can't really call it old, but it's not like Alien Romulus came out.
It's like brand new.
Last weekend?
Yeah.
I think it was literally last weekend.
One of the newest movies you could see right
now.
now.
Yeah. So, and then Peanut Butter Falcon is the other one, and I saw that, and that came out years ago.
I didn't
but
see that
it's
still.
not super old. But I want to talk about Alien Romulus first because
Yeah.
I love the Alien movies. I have always loved them. I saw the first and second Alien probably too young, like most people probably did. I think I probably watched those when I was like 7 or 8. Loved them. First one terrified me. Second one made me want to be a space marine. So I've always loved those. I've seen 3 and 4. I don't know the names of them. I know they're not that great. I know the fourth one freaked me out a little bit because it had that weird humanoid.
One of them's called Resurrection, I think.
Resurrection. I think Alien 3 might just be Alien 3. That one has a dog xenomorph in it.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one, it's like 250 years in the future. They've like cloned Ripley like several times. Then like she's part alien and births the alien baby. It gets just.
I haven't seen all of them.
This is why Alien's fun because it's just so nutty. And then the really crazy part is that Prometheus is one of my favorite movies ever.
Interesting.
I fucking love Prometheus, and I know that wasn't really well received. I don't actually know what the ratings really were, but I know a lot of people talk like this is an alien.
It was
like
mixed.
This is dumb.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love the idea of us finding creators and going out to space and discovering these things and learning that they created us and then hated us, so they wanted to kill us, and that's where the xenomorphs come from. I know a lot of people with horror movies like Alien, it's the reason they're good is because they are isolated small stories on a confined space with a small cast and there's not much to it. But when they can make some cool lore and open up the world a little bit, I like it. I think it's cool. And I thought it was cool what they did with it.
Prometheus was 100% like that gamble of, do we do another Alien movie?
Yeah.
Or, like, I think they chose the right decision. Let's go a little out there. Let's go bigger, a little more lore. We still have you're always going to have two camps. Your Alien, like, purists who are like, that's not my movie because you guys did weird stuff with the alien and, like, lore stuff. It's like... But I also agree. I do think the concept of, like, the creators and some of that stuff was cool. I still think a lot of the way the movie looks and sounds is super, super cool. And the, like, there's an art style, I guess is the right word for Alien, like, in particular, the way they do, like, the ship designs and stuff. I can't think of the dude's name. But either way, just the way that stuff looks has always been cool. But Prometheus just got kind of, I think it was a little bad timing and just wonky advertising to be like, oh, it's in the Alien universe and this and that. It's like,
because people have an expectation going into a movie like that, and it was not like Alien movies. But I really liked that movie. So going into Alien Covenant, Alien Covenant wasn't. It was fine. I didn't think it was bad, but
I saw that one.
Yeah.
That's Danny McBride is in that one, right?
Yes, he is.
That's always
I
a
only
weird
saw it
character.
once, and I vaguely remember it, so that's how I
Same.
know that it's not like it wasn't anything special.
It was way more action-y.
Exactly, and that's where they get into the problem zone of why I don't think Covenant is very good, because Covenant was trying to, like, detach from Prometheus a little bit. There's definitely lore and stuff directly connected to it.
Yeah.
But they were trying to make it more of a different movie and bring it back to, like, xenomorphs killing off people.
Yep.
But they went too hard into action and not enough into horror. Romulus brings that back. So Romulus is very, like, a tight-knit crew on a ship fighting off a xenomorph. And that's why I think this one is better. This one actually is freaky. This one has a lot more vibes of the first one. It still has the deeper lore stuff of the engineers of Prometheus and all that stuff, but it's very small stuff, which kind of let me down a little bit because I like hearing about that stuff. But what they did give me, I'm like, okay, I like this. This is fun. I like the connections and blah, blah, blah. But this movie has one of the most horrifying things, and I'm going to spoil stuff. So are you going to go watch it anytime? Do you not want me to?
It's like, I'll see it eventually, but I don't really care. I'm not like, damn, I love Alien.
The spoiler isn't even like anything crazy. Like, an Alien movie is pretty hard to spoil for the most part because it's just like, oh, guess what? Everybody gets killed by a xenomorph.
Yeah, I think what I have seen is some people, like any of the reviewers were like, I'm not going to say this, but there's clearly an alien or something that is shown that is unlike what we have seen before.
It's horrifying.
So, like, that's what horrifying. I know.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to make it too complicated, but basically a lady births an alien instead of a chest burster kind of thing.
I feel like the route had been feeling like we'd get there at some point.
Yeah,
straight
up.
Well,
Ripley had already done that, though, in the fourth movie, so that's why it's weird and complicated.
Yeah, if we hadn't been there already, it seems like that would have.
But this one's way better, because this one is freaky. This one is unsettling. It's played by, like, this 7'6" guy who's, like, kind of crooked, kind of a deformed body looking ass dude, and he is so freaky and unsettling. I hated this thing. I hated this thing so much because it comes out in, like, the placenta, and she, like, drops it down a hole in the hull of the ship, and the baby looks like a baby when it's in it at first, but then she goes down there, and obviously it comes out, and then you see it come out of the darkness to, like, approach her, like, the final action scene battle, and it's like this 8-foot tall looking, half more humanoid looking xenomorph. And it smiles, and it has these freaky teeth, and it's got all these horrible pores, and it, like, sucks the tit of the girl that births her and, like, kills her by sucking this juice. It's horrifying, dude. It's horrifying. And I liked it because it actually made me a little scared. There were some good jump scares. It was unsettling. I liked the action. It really did come to form back with the traditional Alien movies, because the opening shot of this movie is just blank space, dead silent in the theater, which is always, like, unsettling in theaters when it's actually dead silent because it's meant to be so loud and so much going on.
Popcorn
and a ship, not like Star Wars where, like, it comes over the bottom of it, but, like, the blackness starts turning into the ship. It's hard to describe without seeing it, but it's really cool. And I was like, oh, there's some cinematography in this movie. We're in for something here. And again, like what I was talking about with Dune, this world feels awesome because they start out on, like, a little mining planet. The girl's, like, stuck there because they basically perpetually have you having to clock in hours to do work there, so you can never actually leave. Because supposedly when you get to a certain amount of hours, you can leave, but they just add on hours willy-nilly for no reason. Yeah, so they're like prisoners, kind of.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah. And the world down there, it feels unsettling, dystopian. I love the aesthetic of it. It looks really, really good. Not on the level of Dune, but it looks really, really good.
Nothing's on the level of Dune yet.
No.
I'm waiting for that movie
Yeah.
to come out, and then I'll start touting it and talking about it. But
Yeah, but they did a really good job with what they had, and it's a horror movie too, so the budget's a little bit lower. I forget what it actually was, but I think they did really good with what they had. And when they do get out into space and the effects that they have, I talked about this in my YouTube video review that I talked about. But there's a shot where they're in the ship and they're getting fucked up or something, and then because they go up to a space station to dock in there to go like find some stuff to get the money to get off the planet or whatever is kind of the premise of it, and then that's where they find the xenomorphs. So they dock their ship that they take up in there. Half the crew is on the space station, another half of the crew is on the ship. Some xenomorph shit happens. They knock the controls and the ship starts like flying sideways, like going to crash into the space station. And there's a really cool shot of the lights shining in through the windows of a hallway that they're running across, and the silhouettes and the aesthetic of it and the way it looks. I was like, oh, this is just cool. There's just cool shots in the movie. Yeah. So that's something that I really liked about it too. So it gave me pretty much everything that I wanted out of the Alien universe, except for a little bit more lore background. It gave me a little bit of that. It was unsettling. It was scary. It had brought back like actual good, cool xenomorph shit. There's some cool scenes. There's an anti-gravity scene that comes on that's really dope, where they have to they shoot all the aliens, but then they turn on the anti-gravity, so all the acid's floating in the air, and they're floating, so they have to navigate floating through the acid. And I was like, this is cool. Yeah. They're doing some cool stuff in there. And another thing that I love about that universe is I love androids having to interact with humans when the androids are emotionless and they don't act on what humans would do in horror situations.
They're just logic based.
Yeah, they are doing what you should be doing.
Survival.
And not and so one of the androids has this moment where there's a lady behind the door, and the xenomorph is right behind her, and he can see that the xenomorph is waiting for them to open the door to let her in so that the xenomorph can come in. And he's the only one who can do it because he's like an android and has like an R2-D2 thing where he puts his finger in the hole and and opens doors. Sure. Yeah, it opens doors with that. And so the two humans are telling him, open the fucking door, open the door, Andy. I think his name's Andy. Yeah, because it was like short for android. And yeah, I know. And he doesn't open the door because he says the xenomorph will kill them. And I like that dichotomy in movies when they have to like deal with robot stuff that are being objective in situations and humans who are having the human element that would just get them all killed. So all in all, I really liked that movie. I gave that movie an 8 out of 10, like I said earlier. I definitely recommend go see it. Go see that so we can get more alien movies like this. So if anybody watches this, go see it. Get a couple more tickets sold.
Yeah, I do need to see that one still because I wanted to and probably should. I just haven't been going to the movies.
It's hard to go to the movies. We go pretty often because we have the AMC Movie Pass and we can get the cruise in there a lot. But sometimes it's a lot easier just to find movies like the Banshee movie and just stream that. And watch it.
I'm more of a if I wait long enough and forget that the movie existed, I'll end up getting it for free, somehow, some other way, or just on a streaming platform somewhere eventually. I don't know.
This is one of the movies that's a good movie theater movie, though, because loudness and sound in this is a big thing. Horror movies in general.
Yeah, horror in general, I'm always you can sit at home and watch a horror movie, but if you want the real experience, go force yourself to watch it on the big screen and having to hear everything going on, because of any genre that sound is the most important, horror. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. It is the guiding line of everywhere you're going. And it's
kind of cheap for jump scares.
There's certain movies that
you could do it right.
Toe the line and they're it's coming. But if anything, that works well because I didn't see Alien Romulus, I ended up just rewatching Aliens. And so I watched that.
Yeah, you got that out of it.
And so I'd already seen it before and I love that movie either way. But
have you seen all of them?
Not all of them. I've seen 1 and 2, Alien and Aliens. I don't think I've seen 3 or 4. I saw Prometheus and I saw Covenant, and then I haven't seen Romulus. Yeah. So I'm half. Yeah. But
you got everything you need.
Yeah, it's funny just because hearing someone talk about an Alien movie that comes out now versus however long ago,
79 was the first one.
The first one, I think 80. Mid-80s would have been Aliens. 86. So 40 years ago still that we're still in this franchise. But so many similarities at times, and also getting to watch the movie that when you look at all the reviews for it, it's always like, this is one of the best like sequels ever made. It's almost like better than the original somehow, yet it's not
Terminator
like
2 type style thing.
Funny enough, who comes in to direct
Yeah.
Aliens right after he made Terminator 1, James Cameron does Aliens. So like makes sense. And like so many tropes from so many movies come from Alien. Like the whole franchise, those first 2 movies, like so many, the idea of an android, like in a movie sense that's portrayed on screen, created the foundation for like every other android ever. And the android difference, like it's a big thing for Ripley in the versus movie 1 versus movie 2. You have the android in movie 1 where everyone's on board like, oh, this dude is awesome. He helps us out. It's cool tech. And then come to find out like, yikes, he might not be doing everything the way you want. No. But the difference in the second movie is now Ripley's like, I fucking hate androids. Yeah. And the android on the next mission, he's like, hey, how's it going? And she's like, get the fuck away from me. And he's like, why are you like this? And she's like, you stop talking to me. Like, I don't trust you. Stop it. Why is he even on board? And everyone else is like, well, these are the newer models. Like, these guys like don't have the fuck ups that the last one did. But just that idea of like, would you trust this thing? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that was something I forgot to bring up in Romulus, is because there is a character that like hates androids and is like shitting on the android and bullying him the whole time, because the android did the objective thing where he closed the door on his parents like running out of a mine exploding or something, and if he didn't close the door, it would have blown up the whole thing instead of just the room. So he saved 100 people to kill 2 people.
Few versus the many.
So that guy hates androids in there too. So yeah, it's that same kind of thing.
There's so many good plot points around that too, because it like gets back to, by the end of Aliens, I mean, he's the only one of the few reasons the android is that they get out. He flies. He's able to go do the comm uplink to get the second ship remoted down. Yep. He can fly it. He's there to save her and the girl when they fly out, and also takes an L at the very end when the freaking mom alien is still on. Like, that's got to be probably the best, and why so many movies try to do it and it doesn't work. But the best, like, oh, we made it home safe. The movie's over. Yikes, some dude just gets stabbed in the back, like literally 5 seconds after you thought it was done. It was done. You had it in the bag. He literally looks at her like, we win. And then the fucking tail of the mom alien just right through him, and it rips him in two. And you're like, oh, we're fucked. Like, you can go from so quickly from like, oh, yes, we're safe. Like, you watching it, you're like, finally, I can calm down.
Romulus does that a couple times.
And then only to hit you with that, like, bitch, she's still on there.
It never ends.
She hid in the thing. The design also to go from, like, perfect execution. Let's make a movie called Alien. It's all about the alien. So it's all about, like, we don't want to show the alien too much in Alien 1.
Yeah.
It's the big thing. The less you see, the better. The unknown is scarier, but it is still a scary alien that's like, fucking, whoa, look at this thing. When you see it. So smart for aliens to be like, we know it. We've seen it. What do we want? Honestly, I just want to see it more. I want to kill the motherfuckers. So this whole fucking movie is just us literally lighting up all the aliens and the face horror. All the face huggers, like the face hugger scene with her and the little girl while she's sleeping. The face hugger tense. She wakes up on the ground and all she sees is she wakes up to seeing the encasement that it was in fallen over and cracked open, and that's all you see. And immediately, within seconds, you're like, oh fuck, here we go. Scary. Oh, here we go. Because you already had the moment where you saw them locked up, and the guy gets really close to it, and it's still alive, and it like freaks out in the cage, and it's like, it's still scary enough for me to be like, Jesus Christ, dude, why would you get your face that close? It's literally called a face hugger. But to hit that moment too and get like the most intense tension in a scene of the little girl and her and the face hugger just going ham. And also, I've seen at least the clips from Romulus where obviously they're CG, but they look amazing.
They do. Some of them are practical.
What's insane is the practical stuff they use in Aliens that I'm watching. I'm like, damn, this looks good. Like, the facehugger is a full practical, like, little thing that they have moving around. And just the way they make it look is so gross. It's so gross looking, and, like, you just want to step on it like a spider and just, like, squish it out immediately. Like, it has that feeling of, this thing can't live. let alone if you see what it does and if you know like a chest burster thing.
Yeah.
Aliens has so many good moments to just call back to Alien 1
does.
and just be like, remember how good that one was? And it's still this good. Like Ripley having her own chest burster moment but it's like a vision. She's just like PTSDing herself through the whole first mission. And then the dread of like, I'm not going back there. I never want to see the aliens again is how she starts the movie. And then within 10 minutes, it's like, hey, we need you to go back and do all that again.
Dude, this is why 3 and 4 are so ridiculous, because she gets brought back and forced to do it again on some prisoner colony where there's xenomorphs. And then in the 4th movie, it's 250 years later, so she's been dead for hundreds of years, but they've been cloning her to try to make her again, and they end up making her again to go send in to like deal with some alien shit. So even in death, she has to keep getting brought back to do
it's
that.
such a cop out too to be like,
Yeah, it's dumb. She could never die.
yeah,
Ruins
like she
the
can't
tension.
die. And also talk about, you have one of the most kick-ass female protagonists in movie history ever in Ripley, and you're going to ride her to her grave. Like, literally, you're going to drive her name down into the point that it doesn't mean anything. Thank God that's not really true.
They stopped that.
Yeah, they finally
After
were
the 4th.
smart to be like, Sigourney Weaver did her fucking job so well. Stop it. Like, stop bringing this girl back. I guarantee you she does not want to, like, tarnish, or probably just wants nothing to do with it anymore in general. But they have, like, just to finally, like, the Prometheus thing, to be like, we got to just go different.
Yeah.
Where all we can do is get, like, someone has Sigourney Weaver on speed dial at all times at that studio, and it's just, like, waiting for, like, someone to press the red button to say, like, we need the backup. And it's good to know that, like, with Romulus and
Still
stuff,
hasn't done it.
we're still hopefully in a place where we can get alien movies that are, like, good and don't have to literally be the same thing.
Romulus is definitely the Force Awakens kind of formula, where it is very similar to just being the first Alien, but there's enough differences to where it's dope. A lot like the Force Awakens. I don't know if you know the kind of context of Romulus, but Romulus is technically like a sequel to the first one. The alien that goes in and infects the space station is actually the alien that Ripley sends out in the first movie.
I was gonna say that
You figure out that they can live in space. They made a cocoon, and it's crazy.
I was gonna say that's the only thing about the movie, for its own good, is it's like you don't fully know what happens to the alien. It's like it just gets shoved out into the airlock and it goes out into space. And like human logic would say like, oh, he can't breathe out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, am I crazy? Or in Aliens, how the fuck does Ripley breathe? She has to get they're in.
I haven't seen it in a while.
It would be hard if you haven't seen it. I'll try to explain it. They're in the final moments with the final alien. They're in the ship. There's an airlock. So like, the only way this is possible is that you have to get the alien in the airlock while you're in the ship. Close that door first, then you open the airlock and he goes out. In the movie, every door opens to outside. Ripley is in the airlock with the alien after she falls in with the mech suit on top of it. That's the airlock they're in. And then she grabs onto a thing. They open the airlock. She has no suit on, no nothing. Am I dumb to not know that, like, she would be dead. Everyone would be dead.
I don't remember exactly what happens in it, but she opens it and then closes it, right?
Correct, but you can see out to space.
I know. I think you can survive if the oxygen is going in there. I don't know. I don't even know if that's something that we actually would know because we've never done that. So I don't know. But yeah, I agree.
I don't know. That's for damn sure. I'm not smart enough to
shit.
actually know. In my head, I just remember that was the single moment where I was like, she's dead. This actually is one of the few things. They do talk about how this just depends, I guess, are they within the atmosphere of the planet, because the place they're at in Aliens, they specifically talk about, they come down and it's like an atmosphere generator that they have built on the planet. That's why when they're down there on the planet, they don't have suits or helmets or anything. They have a full like built thing that cleans the atmosphere and makes it breathable or something.
Yeah.
So is that, like, they explain that. I guess I should just probably assume they were probably still within distance of that. I don't know. to get chintzy on a fucking alien movie like that is stupid too.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's not worth it. Hence the reason.
Fun sometimes though.
Yeah, hence the reason it doesn't change the fact that I love the movie
Yeah,
in general,
still
and it's amazing.
That was another thing in Romulus that I forgot to bring up, and I don't remember. Maybe this was how the guns were in Aliens, but you just watched it, so you let me know. Do they have an auto aim thing?
That's never mentioned or anything.
So the gun that they have on the ship here is fucking sick because you like basically take out the stock of it and extend it and clip it to the back of your shoulder, so it like kind of hugs your arm like this, and the gun like locks and gets up to your shoulder. And the screen on I'm getting away from the mic. The screen on the gun there, auto aims on aliens. So it's dope in the movie because it's just auto lock like you're playing a video game. It's auto aim on people's heads, and it's just smoking the aliens. And you're just pulling the trigger, and it's just shooting the aliens, auto locking on. I was like, this is dope.
Definitely not. No, it's just like regular ass guns.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was something that was
they only even. Like, there's no dialogue or any exposition given to talking about the specifics of any of the guns. It's just like, grab guns, guys, we're going to kill. And then you do get the dope part, though, of, like, the sick just tacticalness of, like, Ripley at the end when she has to go down and by herself go get the girl while the whole place is about to blow up. She takes the freaking assault rifle and then she stacks it on top of a flamethrower and straps them and ties them together so she can have a full-time AR and flamethrower combo. I was like, that's sick. That's sick. So sick. Like, the whole moment is also done so well. Most movies, I feel like they want to get a shot of the badass where they go in the elevator to go down, and as they come out, they're ready to go. Yeah. And it's like, you're just so ready. The whole moment leading into it's like Ripley is sweating. She is scared. She's like frantically, as the elevator's going down, she's still tying the gun together, like trying to get it up. Like, there's never a moment where you're like, oh, she's ready. It's like we are just hanging on by a thread. We are hanging on by a thread, and you're hoping we get out of this alive. And they do that so well. Like, most movies, there's usually a point where you can almost cop out and be like, okay, now that they survived that, they'll never die.
Yeah.
There's no way they'll have to kill this character. But Alien still is always like, fuck, you just do not know if anyone's going to be safe. More or less, you should assume everyone pretty much dies in most of the movies.
Yeah, that's what
there's
they
like
are.
Maybe one person who might live.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Romulus does a really good job at that stuff too. It builds tension and it builds how things are happening and showing what's happening and why it's scary and why it's tense very well.
Yeah.
The good alien movies do that stuff specifically really well. It's dope.
Any of my favorite like horror movies, thriller too, but like, yeah, tension. Like, tension is so big, and it doesn't need to be the like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a right word for it, but just the scenes between like Game of Thrones has tension all throughout it without needing to be a horror movie. You know, like that tension exists in life. It needs to be a thing that like, I don't know. It's like a feeling that you know when it's there. You like it's in someone's facial expressions. It's almost not what you say. It's like you can just watch someone and be like, "Yikes, they're about to blow up right now."
Then
like,
you get the anxiety.
Yeah, you can see those things happening.
That's what separates the good movies from the bad movies. Because I say this because my mom is very boring with movies and stuff that she watches. She doesn't like to be sad. She doesn't like to be scared. She doesn't like to be upset, and she calls those bad movies. I'm like, Mom, they're not bad because they scare you or because they make you cry or they're sad. That is what makes a movie great, because when a movie makes you invoke whatever emotion it is that they're trying to make you invoke.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess I could go into Peanut Butter Falcon now. Peanut Butter Falcon is a tearjerker. Yeah. You know what this movie is, what it's about?
I know this is Shia LaBeouf.
The Boof.
And the Down syndrome kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't really know much more than that other than seeing a trailer and knowing, just watching the trailer, I'm like, I would cry if I watched this.
Dude, it's a good one though. It's a like a heartwarming. It's like, it's happy. Yeah. It's good. There's sad moments where it's like, oh, this is just fucked. But it's basically about this dude. John Bernthal. So Shia LaBeouf and John Bernthal are just like best friends. But he's like, have you watched The Bear at all?
Yeah, I'm not like I've only seen a couple episodes.
So John Bernthal
do
you know about him in that show? I don't remember when they introduced him.
No, I don't.
John Bernthal is the dead brother of the main character in The Bear. Anyways, the reason that it's funny is because John Bernthal is the dead brother of Shia LaBeouf in this movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's just John Bernthal just plays the dead brother flashback character apparently. So it's just pretty funny. So his brother died, I think, because he was sleepy at the wheel and like they got hit by a car or something. But anyways, the dude's like
Very
just
possible.
going around, going fishing, having all these problems with people, and he ends up burning down these people's like fishing area that they have. Their dock, I think, is what it was. And so he's on the run from these guys that are trying to find him and kill him because he burned down his stuff. Dude, they use retarded very liberally in this movie. It's crazy. Everybody's just calling him it left and right.
It's a great word.
But yeah, it's a great word. Classic. Bring it back.
I
Shane Gillis tonight will be
I
using it a lot.
refuse to not use that word.
Yeah.
Don't care.
So I don't remember what his name was. I would just call him Peanut Butter Falcon because that's what his thing is, that he's obsessed with pro wrestling.
I do kind of remember that.
Yeah,
too,
he's obsessed with pro wrestling. So he lives in a assisted living care place because I don't know what happened to his family. I think his parents probably died or something. So there's a nurse in there that like takes care of him, and he keeps trying to escape to go become a wrestler down at this wrestling camp that exists. But you could tell from the moment the movie started, he's watching VHSs, and you know they're really old. And this movie's like modern. I think it's probably like 10 or 15 years old when it takes place, maybe 20. But he's still using VHSs, and it's probably you're like, oh, those are a little old. And so it's kind of like foreshadowing to like what happens later in the movie. But he ends up breaking out of the assisted living home and going and finding Shia LaBeouf. They end up crossing paths, and the movie is basically just them going on this journey and Shia LaBeouf trying to get this guy down to the wrestling training camp. And it's just classic heartwarming, sad stuff. They have these moments sitting on the beach. They get drunk together. They become really, really close, like brothers. And I love those movies. They always get the tear jerkers in there. I love it. But this one just does a really good job at building a relationship in the way that they both talk to each other. And it's a very small cast. There's only probably like 3 main characters, really, which is always awesome. The movie is really short. It's only an hour 36. For a non-animated movie, I feel like that's really, really short. Non-animated movie in modern times. And I see why it won all the awards that it did. I don't remember what they were or not. But it was awesome. I was tearing up the whole time. He ends up going down, and the wrestling camp isn't there because that VHS was from like 20 years, a couple decades ago. So he gets down there and it's not there and it doesn't exist. But they end up finding the guy that made it, and they end up going and wrestling. They make him a whole costume and stuff. And throughout the movie, they talk about moving down to Florida. So the nurse, she's like basically tracking them the whole time, trying to find them. And her relationship with Shia LaBeouf is hilarious. Shia LaBeouf is such a great actor, dude. There's a reason why he's a little crazy. Yeah, he's awesome.
I think he's underused in the roles
because he's got issues.
Yeah, like he's
not easy to work with.
He's got his own set of things, but man, when you put him in a spot that he can shine, like he goes crazy.
Yeah,
he'll go hard.
Yeah, and he does an amazing job in this movie. And the other guy, I wish I knew his name, but he does a really good job too, which is always awesome to see somebody with those disabilities be able to do stuff like that in movies. And so he put on a really good performance. The movie is actually really funny. He makes all these crazy jokes, and it's awesome. So it's funny, it's sad, it's happy.
Yeah, a dude with Down syndrome, honestly, like is already a character in themselves. Their personality is so big. So,
yeah. So I really enjoyed that movie. Highly recommend it to anybody. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out because I enjoyed watching that movie a lot. And that one was just random. I think it's on Netflix. I think is what it was on because it was just like top 2 trending or whatever. I was like, I'm gonna watch this. It's only an hour 36, and then I watched it. And I knew I needed to be watching that because I know when it came out, I really wanted to. But
yeah,
sometimes you just forget, you just miss stuff.
I wanted to see that one back then, and kind of same thing, just like lost it under the radar and kind of forgot about it since it's happened. But
yeah,
that's when I'll have to watch. That's why it's like I got to get on that Letterboxd thing more and like.
I'm excited.
Tell myself to make sure to put things down. You can also like I think make lists for like want to watch later and stuff, so you can just quickly put stuff down. But that's like movies are there's so many things, and it's funny you say your mom's really boring with movies, but I think that's
it's dramatic.
I get what you're saying though, because I think my mom's definitely probably the main reason I'm into movies.
My parents too.
She's definitely like. I don't know. There's always a movie on in the living room, like always, or sports. Like sports is definitely normal thing, but my mom loves watching movies. She's always loved like true crime. She like wants to figure out the end of the plot before the end of the movie, and I'm like,
she's like breaking it down and being like, oh, he's gonna end up doing this,
and I'm like the type I feel like to want to be like, please don't say anything because you will get it right. and I'm not smart enough to get it right. I'm more of a sit back and let the director take me on their little trip. Whatever this movie is, let the thing happen. I've kind of just grown into like, I don't try to figure it out by the end, but my mom definitely got me into watching a bunch of different things and just like all the weird stuff that'd be on cable like at random times of the day. Like the amount of times I have seen the movie or clips of or just parts of the movie Sweet Home Alabama in my lifetime with Reese Witherspoon is
Nice.
atrocious. Atrocious. It's just one of those movies that's on all the time on a certain channel. But like I can look back and say like I still don't know if I've ever watched that movie all the way through. I probably should to
Love
see
those
if I
movies.
even like it, but it was enough of a thing where like there are so many movies on and there were enough things on that caught my attention to be like I like that and I like that and I like that. And I definitely remember like seeing like a pivotal movie moment in my life to know like, oh, I really like movies was seeing Django Unchained back in 2011, I think is when it came out. But I would have been like a freshman in high school. And I just remember my brother saying, oh, dude, this movie's going to be so sweet. It's like it's a Western from Quentin Tarantino. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know who that is. I have no idea who this dude is. And I couldn't tell you anything about his movies. But my brother was like, oh, he has like very different style, his own unique style. But like, you'll probably like it. And then I walked out of that movie having
Changed man.
never saw a trailer, didn't know the plot other than my brother telling me it's a Western. And even then, I'm like, I'm not into Westerns. I don't know what. Okay. And I walked out of that theater as a child, and I was like, I didn't know movies could be like this. I didn't know I could go watch a movie where, like, I just got to watch the most badass dude on planet Earth, and it's framed in this way where it's like a slave come-up story, basically.
Yeah.
He gets brought out of slavery to become the right-hand man to a bounty hunter, only to virtually just gain his own freedom because he is who he is. He's just a good person, and the German doesn't understand slavery. But either way, the level of like violence and humor and a story and performances from like Leonardo DiCaprio, Christoph Waltz, Jamie Foxx, all these
Stacked
like
cast,
there
amazing
are
performances.
so many
Yeah.
good parts in that movie that hit like all the highest notes. And like ever since then, I just remember it changed my mind where I finally like felt like I at least in my head understood what I loved about movies, which was like this is just some way that you can legit like you can watch a story about anything if you wanted to, any idea, any possibility, any theme, any message. There's something out there for it. They're not all going to be good, that's for sure. That's
No.
kind of the fun part
Sometimes,
too.
yeah, it's fun.
That's the fun part is
Yeah.
like you got to parse through some of these bad movies where you're like, how did anyone get greenlit for money to put towards this? Like,
Yeah.
how did
Millions of
the
dollars.
Borderlands movie
Oh,
since its inception was like how is this getting made? $100 million?
Kevin Hart here right now.
Like, yeah, like
He's in
screw
Spokane.
you, dude. What
Yeah.
is this? Like, it blows my
Did you watch it?
mind. No.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
God, no. I have no desire. As an avid Borderlands game player, I from the get go was like, this does not look like it knows what it wants, and it sure definitely didn't know what it wanted.
Yeah, and that's a weird timing for. It's weird timing for that too, for a video game movie like that to come out that's so bad because we finally figured out video game adaptations to real life with The Last of Us and what are some other video game adaptations?
Fallout
Good.
show.
Fallout was awesome. The Last of Us,
was really
legitimately great shows.
Fallout
too, not
was
just like good.
Fallout
like great.
was amazing. I
Yeah.
loved Fallout.
The Last of Us is one of my favorite shows.
The Last of Us was amazing. I was thoroughly impressed by the Fallout show more than like Fallout could, in my mind, just as easily been a Borderlands scenario. In fact, I kind of thought it would be
I did too.
because
I did too.
Fallout feels like a video game where I'm like, who the hell would watch a show about this? It just didn't feel like The Last of Us makes so much sense. It's
does.
actually
It's perfect.
a story that has beats that you could like episodically split up.
Because that game is like one of the introduction to making games more cinematic and like
It's literally it's a linear narrative action game, but it's linear.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
very
linear,
linear.
On purpose for its own benefit because the
Yeah.
story is so good.
Yeah.
Something like Fallout, it's an open world RPG.
Yeah.
That is so not and the tone of Fallout itself is so hard to pinpoint because it's like it's funny, it's weird, it can be really serious, it can be horror, it can be campy, it can be like everything at once and none of it at once. So how do you give a show an identity? then here came the show, and honestly, they hit it across the board, hit the nail on the head.
So surprised by that one too, because I've played a tiny bit of Fallout. I think I tried playing Fallout 3 when that came out when we were fairly young.
Yeah.
And I remember not being able to get out of the vault. And I was like, I'm done with this. I didn't try very hard or play very much. But I was like, I'm done with this. And so I've only known just little snippets of Fallout here and there from probably talking to you or Dylan and stuff.
Yeah.
And going into that and learning about the world and how like learning what Vault-Tec is and the universe of that company wanting to nuke the world so that they could make money and make these vaults. And I was like, this is crazy.
I think awesome even then, that's not like, I think the show, what I was curious about is, do they follow directly from the game's plot lines? Are we like, am I going to watch Fallout 3 eventually? Or is this just a Fallout set within how you can take Fallout anywhere? It's how the games work,
thing, isn't
you know?
it?
It's a little its own thing.
Yeah.
So like, I agree. I think that's like one of the cooler plot lines
Yeah, I
of
was
the
like, this is
show
awesome. This is
was
cool.
them being like, oh wait, we understand nuclear war is imminent. Why not just fucking make some bank on this shit?
Yeah, and the aesthetic of the
oh,
60s thing. Yeah,
like,
it's-
that's fucked up, but that's a reality. That's actually such a believable reality in the fact that, like, sure, could nuclear war happen at any point? Yeah, I don't really think anyone's gonna be that dumb right now to try to set the world on fire, but like, there would be people who are higher up that know about it before it's gonna happen, that 100% would be taking precautionary things to be like,
Dude.
we're going to try and live through this, and we're going to find a way to not only live, but like thrive.
Not only that, but they have a scene in the movie where they are trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Not only just waiting for it to happen, but trying to make it happen because they're like, oh, we're not getting our profits. We're not getting our returns.
Yeah.
We got to get the nukes out. It needs to happen.
Yeah,
And it's just
wild.
living. They all live in a world where they expect to be nuked. Even the people, like the regular people. I'm like, this is just. I don't know. I guess maybe that could be like what it was like in the Cold War. I wouldn't know. But like they just expect. No, it's not the same because they built vaults, like crazy vaults, and like they are anticipating
It's a
and making sure
definite
it's going to happen.
ideal that derives from that, though. It's like
Yeah.
what could have been.
Yeah.
If we didn't get things under
Yeah.
control, we very easily may have been in some form of that. And it's also ideas that come from humans. Like, we build bunkers and shelters for Fallout. Like, it's a real thing. Like, it's wild, but like, it's not too wild for me to think there's, guarantee you, 30 miles in a radius around where we're sitting, there's probably some dude sitting in a bunker somewhere stacked to the brim with resources and ammo and weapons ready to go. And he is literally an NPC that I'd find in the game, where you hop in and you're like, hey man, how's it going? And he wants to kill you on sight. Like, just all these wild things that in a game can seem like, oh, this is just a game. And then once you can kind of get out or just walk around your own city, go look at a homeless person out there, dude. Like,
Yeah.
they are literally in a Fallout game. They're like, bro,
Yeah,
they are dying. They're on
Yeah.
nuclear water. I don't know what they're drinking. I don't know what they're putting in their system.
Yeah.
That shit ain't healthy. It's
Yeah.
definitely some nuclear waste type things, and they are going wild. And the show nailed, I think, that like the weirdness of it too. Like, it needed to be out
It was
there.
fun.
Yeah,
It was fun.
It needed to be very out there and truly just fun. If it got too serious ever, it would have been like, that's just, Fallout never gets too serious, really. The
No.
game, every time you think it's gonna get like super serious, hits you with a quest to go do the most random, out there, outlandish thing ever. That's not even close to just killing a guy.
A good example of that is that the episode where she meets the robot who's wanting to harvest her organs.
Yeah.
Where it seems so friendly and happy-go-lucky
Yeah.
and all
And
this
they-
stuff. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to, or whatever it says. I'm going to harvest your organs or whatever. She's like, what? No. And then just how that all ensues. And then like the guys on the couch that are just drinking beer and eating food with their
Yeah.
guns sitting right there. And they're just a joke too. And then they just get murked. I'm like, man, Fallout's a savage world. I love this. This is
And
awesome.
yeah, and so many of the plot lines of what was happening felt like it would actually be a quest to some extent. It should, like, that's such a weird. I would love to be able to sit in the writers' room or like the concepts when they were coming up with the show to like, how much thought went into like, hey, do we make a show that resembles the ideas of a game, or do we make a show that resembles the game? Because like this show also treads along like, there's moments where you're like, characters are literally saying things to directly talk about the video game itself. Like the ghoul in the episode where he is about to try to get the thing out of the monsters, like it ate the whatever, the head or something, the dude's head.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. The
and,
MacGuffin.
and they were gonna go and try to get it, but as soon as he does that, he runs out of his vials to keep, and he's like, like rule number 1 of the wasteland, that you'll always get sidetracked whenever you most need to be doing your main thing. And it's like, that is such a call to like a Bethesda game in general, just being like,
I'm going on this mission. Oh wait, there's a
oh,
command
there's
over
that,
here sitting
there's
on a
this,
bench.
there's that. Like, you just get sidetracked so easily doing literal side quests and just in exploring the world, like having good interactions with the people. I love the scene between the girl and the black guy, and they're crossing the bridge, and the 2 like vagrant people are just standing on the opposite side.
Yeah,
and it's like a standstill, and they're like, "You go." Like, no, you.
Are you
go.
armed?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Nope.
Nope. You sure? Yep. And then she's just like, "Oh, they said they're not armed," and he's like, "No, are you an idiot? What are we doing here?"
And I love that she doesn't give him the gun the whole time. She tries her best to be like, if we don't pull our guns, they won't pull their guns. And
Yeah,
him the whole time, he's like, I will let this slide the one time just to prove to you you're wrong. And what happens? They get close, and right at the moment they get close enough, they pull the gun first, and he has to like reach for it on her, and he kills them. And he's like, "What did I tell you? Like, you're saying you're trying to be the nice guy. I'm already telling you I tried that, or other people have tried that, and it does not work."
Dude, tell me if you got this too. Is the black guy insane? His character was very weird in the decision making that he had and the things that he did and his reasoning. He seems like he literally was like mentally unstable, but he would have moments where like he's not. I wish it was a little while. It was a little while ago when I saw it, so I can't describe exact moments. But I just remember him doing very weird things. I'm like, this is like, what are you doing here? And he would like have these like mental breakdowns and like fits and stuff. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy?
I think it was more just him being conflicted with understanding like it's a tough world they live in. He dedicated what was his whole life to the Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah.
And kind of realized in return, you've gotten nothing good. Like, this sucks. And this is what you got, though. Like, if you were to give up on this, they're going to kill you. You're a deserter. And, like, he was going through the motions of understanding in real time. I think, like, dude, none of this is worth it. Like, holy shit, I think I just threw my whole life away.
Once
like,
he gets into that vault and is just eating the popcorn.
Yeah, like, that was a very much a moment of, like, this exists? Wait, there's, like, some of these people don't even understand vault life. They actually don't get it because they've never been in a vault. And some people don't even think the vaults exist. That's like the lady at the beginning. She's like, I thought all you guys were dead. Like, people don't even know that the vault dwellers could be alive still and actually don't know that the outside world's actually chilling.
It's
like,
the dichotomy of both of them too, of like the vault dwellers not knowing about the surface and the surface not knowing about the vault dwellers and how different it is and how they go about things and how they teach each other things.
It's a huge part of the games, and I love that they hit on that. That's always a super fascinating part of the games is you usually start in a vault, you are only shown vault life, and then a lot of the game is like you're just also exploring a place you do not know. You don't know anything that's going on. You don't know what's right or wrong, quote unquote. You just explore and you just do things. You just keep going to the next interesting thing until you figure your way out. And then push comes to shove, you might have to kill someone.
Yeah,
because you need to stay alive. And then you take what they had on their body, and hey, they actually had a better gun.
You need it. Yeah,
you realize that gun helped you the next time, and this and that. Like, Fallout's all about the world. The world is just as much a character as the characters. Clearly, there was so much attention to detail in the set design and the costumes, the guns, the props, the stim packs are like everything is spot on. They literally play the real hacking mini game. The music is all ripped right from that. I remember me and my brother.
Dylan loved it.
Me and my brother were both like big on before watching the show. I'm like, if they don't use songs from the game like they are like the real classic original old school songs, they missed the mark. And thank God they
did so well.
They did exactly what they needed to. They used it at all the right times, all the right songs. Like, everything was directly a song I've heard in a game at some point and used to its benefit. Like,
and me who has no touchstone to it, I was like, this is awesome. I love the music. I love the aesthetic. Again, like we talked about several times with Dune and whatever other movie we talked about, the world building, like you said, the sets feels like Fallout. I mean, from the little bit I've seen of Fallout, and I was like, they just did a good job. In an era of shitty Star Wars shows where they do a terrible job
The
at it. They just make it,
volume or
they-
whatever that thing is they use, the screen that Disney has.
yeah, they just make it feel so cheap and not real, and that's why
Yeah.
Dune, I appreciate it so much, because if they could make a Star Wars movie that felt like Dune in that world, it would be so awesome.
I think that's what you're right. I've started
just
to
feel cheap.
realize more is I can definitely start to notice movies that use like do you know what I'm talking? That
Yeah, I
ro-
do, yeah.
That yeah, like
The video wall
that
room
thing, you can totally I feel like you can tell nowadays when they're using it.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell when the set is clearly like a circle or square of ground space that they can walk around in, but they can't go anywhere else outside of it. And are we doing big circles around that? Like
Leave it in the
there's-
parks.
and-
You know that came from Imagineers or whatever they're called.
and
Leave it in the
and
parks.
it works. It works when it needs to be used. It's kind of the thing, like everything in moderation.
Yeah.
That can be used when needed to, but Dune gets the upper hand when I can
Oh,
tell when I watch a shot of a spaceship going over the sand and I'm like, oh, all they CGI'd in was the ship. Makes sense. You can't build that ship in real life.
Yeah.
But everything else is this whole set. I'm like, it's not a set. You're just looking at the desert. Like
Like the
that's a
sand-
huge difference of like the depth of field in the actual frame of what I'm looking at.
Like the sandworm and why we talk about that so much.
Yeah. Oh.
Timothy Chalamet is doing that. He's getting blasted with sand, standing on top of a thing, and he's just getting smoked. That's happening, and you can tell.
The
you can
scale they get, I think another one of my favorite parts of the sandworm moment
Like I love that we're back
is
to Dune.
yeah, where it starts at he sets the thumper to draw it in, but they get the shot from behind his shoulder over just the landscape of the
Yeah.
whole valley, and it's so far out. You see like the initial like of dust, and you're
Yeah.
like,
And they're like, "Oh, that's a
even,
big one."
Yeah, even then, as a viewer, you can tell you're like, that is so far away, but it's big. It's
fast.
big and
Yeah.
it's moving, and then it goes underneath and it stops, and you're like, oh shit, like, fuck, where's it gonna be? And then it's like 200 yards closer, and it's like, coming,
Yeah.
like that kind of
The sound.
the sound,
good.
the look, the scale is just so nailed. And to me, it seems simple, but it's not. I think that's what people would be like, oh, that's so easy to do. And it's like, it's so not. Like, there's so much thought and technique going into why this is shot this way, why the lighting is the way it is, why the time of day was this, why he's wearing this, not that, why they said this, not that. Like, for guys like Denis Villeneuve who make their movies like that, that's what I believe in when I go to see his movies. Is I believe, like Blade Runner 2049, another banger. I
I haven't seen
rewatched.
that. That might be what I'll do for next
I
week. I need
that
to
was
watch
a recent rewatch. I think when I was still living with you, I rewatched that.
Maybe.
And another banger. And you can, now that you've seen Dune 1 and 2 and know his style, like I think I've said
let's
it
go.
before, where
It's got
like
me so excited.
his, like Denis' handprints are all over Blade Runner in the best way possible. The scale, the size, the sound,
The world. Yeah.
everything to a T. I'll say the plot line, honestly, is not like, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it is the perfect plot to like, okay, this is interesting. Oh, okay. Android's another thing. It's
Yeah.
all about like
Yeah.
Android stuff. But dude, that movie sold me alone on world building.
Another 3-hour movie.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great though.
Also, Ryan Gosling kicks ass.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling's good.
Dude,
Glenn Powell's a
easily,
knockoff Ryan Gosling. I'll say. Right now.
Ryan Gosling, I have no problem actually saying is my favorite like current Hollywood actor.
He has that.
He kills in anything.
He is funny.
Anything.
Yeah, he's funny. He has the crazy range. He can be serious
He
and
can
dramatic.
dance. He can sing.
Yeah.
He can fucking go be a badass. He could
Yeah.
be heartfelt and sappy.
Yeah.
He's literally done it all, and every single time you're lying. Like, I want to be like, you're lying if you say you don't like Ryan Gosling. Like, that's
You're a
like
liar.
like you're just trying to like not be gay or something, just to be like, oh, I don't like guys. It's like, dude, he is so freaking good at what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's so good at it. It's not even close. I watched the Barbie movie.
I heard it was funny.
And,
I didn't see
and
it.
I feel like I kind
I know
of
there's
thought
a
it
bunch
would
of drama
be.
around it.
It was all of Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is hilarious in it. He is so fucking funny.
That's what I've
He
heard.
he just gets it. He understands like the shtick of what they're trying to do, and just knocks it out of the park. There's one, I quote a line from it because of how he says it so often. It's just hilarious. Like, his mannerisms, his humor and comedy is so good, and yet the dude can be anything he wants. It sucks. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I kind of he's gotten
I
like
wish.
really really big recently, and he's really made a staple for a name for himself recently.
Yeah.
But a random weird genre that I actually like a lot of rom-coms. A lot more a lot more com than rom. Like I want them to mostly be a comedy movie
Yeah.
rather than romance because I don't know. I like that. I like to have a little bit of emotional stuff, but when they're really funny, it's awesome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, which is a very random one, is
Oh.
Crazy Stupid Love
Oh, okay.
with Ryan Gosling,
thought
Emma Stone, Steve Carell.
thought you were gonna say The Notebook.
No, is that a Ryan Gosling movie? I
Yes.
haven't even seen that. No, but Crazy Stupid Love is. Have you seen that?
Bits and pieces.
This
but
movie
no.
is awesome. So you should watch that because of this one specific reason. But there is a culmination at the end of this movie that is such a mindfuck of everything coming together. I showed Sydney it, and she was like, "I was not expecting that to happen because it is awesome." But it is hilarious. Steve Carell obviously is awesome. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling together. Emma Stone seems to have
It's like
chemistry.
they're all comedy people, honestly.
Well, they're just great actors because Steve
And,
Carell has
yeah,
that really
amazing
good range too. You think of him as a comedic actor, but he's one of those guys that can do everything. Same with Ryan Gosling. Same with Emma Stone. And the cast in that movie is awesome. It is so funny. Highly recommend it. But that brings me to another movie because have you seen La La Land?
I have not actually.
So I'm not a musical guy. I don't like musicals. But Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, which is why I brought that up because of Crazy Stupid Love. Them in that movie, there's so much chemistry. That movie is so fun and funny and emotional and all this stuff. I'm like, I actually fucking love this movie, and I don't like musicals, and that's a musical.
I haven't seen it just because I haven't seen it. It is a movie I've been wanting to watch because I do think I would like it. I love music. Like the music part or the musical part for me isn't as hard, I think, as some for others. But I'm also not like I love musicals. It has to be the right kind of thing, and La La Land's just different too. I feel like it's just not even like
It's different.
From what I've seen. It's like, is it a musical? Yes, but the feeling is not like it's not like High School Musical, you know? Like it's not like, oh, we hit our beat onto the next song. We hit our beat onto the next song. It's like there's a flow and a rhythm to the movie that works really well. And the music almost just feels like it has to happen. Like those are the best musicals. Is like almost back to like a classic Disney movie is full of songs and music and whatnot.
They're musicals.
They are full on musicals, but they usually like every song is actually pivotal to the plot. Like the song's lyrics are always about the character.
You don't just go into a different universe when a song happens.
You're not exactly. You're not jumping into like, all right, we went from drama to musical. And it's like you usually can have a pretty good transition into like the character's sad and then they do a sad song and it's like a ballad or something. And
that's why theater shows are awesome because they are critical. They're pivotal. Like there's more music usually. There's more singing than talking in musicals typically, and those are the good movie musicals. Or both of them when they have more straight through dialogue and then the music that has to do with the plot. Like this is a scene that is happening in the movie that is progressing things and things are happening. Like somebody can get shot and die in a song.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a big part of the song is the dying moment where like the music is and it's like all the culmination of the parts and everything together. It's Phantom of the Opera with Gerard Butler.
I haven't seen that. I want to see that.
One of the best soundtracks for a musical easily. I love the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack.
I'll check it out.
So good.
Next time we got to bring a piece of paper and write because now that we just talk, we bring up so many things that like you haven't seen or I haven't seen that we could watch for the next show.
Yeah.
We're getting a little low on time here now because it's almost 4. But I have one thing that I want to close out on that was actually a trailer that I saw on the YouTube ad before that golf video that I was watching when you came over. Really? It's for a Lord of the Rings anime. Have you seen this?
Oh, that's what I posted in the group chat. You must not have seen it.
Oh, no shit?
Dude, I saw it.
Dude, the trailer, I was like...
It's a feature-length movie. They're putting it in theaters.
It's not a show?
No, it's in theaters. Like, it's going to be out, I think, in December. I, like, read through the long description on YouTube because I was like, is this a show? Is it a movie? Where do I watch it?
Yeah,
How do I watch
it?
But yeah, no, it says being distributed through Warner Brothers Pictures theatrically, like worldwide in December, I think maybe or something. And I was like, oh, dude, it's like a movie. Like it's like a legit like this is a movie. Brian Cox was one of the main voice actors, and that's the main guy from Succession, the old like dad guy. Mm-hmm. Sign me up,
dude.
Sign me the fuck up.
I was like, I didn't know
his voice is iconic, especially in a Lord of the Rings setting. Like you can hear it in the trailer. And I was like. This
don't-
looks sick.
I don't know what trailer that you saw, but I was very confused. Also, maybe want to watch Lord of the Rings. I might actually do that this weekend. But the beginning of the trailer are showing live action shots and cuts from the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And so at the beginning, I'm like, oh, is this just an advertisement for like a live action or like one of the live music shows?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what like the term of those would be, where you watch the movie and they play the music in the orchestra.
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Whatever those are.
It's a live performance.
Yeah,
of it.
I thought it was going to be an ad for that because it was just showing clips and like return to the world of Lord of the Rings or blah blah blah. I thought that's what it was going to be, and then all of a sudden there's an anime face. I'm like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this? And so I watched the whole trailer. I was like, this looks good. It sounds good. The action looks fun.
Yeah.
Like the drama. I like the story. I'm actually already interested in what that is.
I think
So-
I was just pulled in by. It looks like a clearly true to Lord of the Rings lore, like wanting to do. I'm so okay just because I know like there's gonna be like my brother. I can already hear him now, maybe being like, "Oh, but anime, man, like come on." And it's like
It looks like it's American anime.
It's like-
so it's not going to be
yeah.
or
That-
take 10 minutes to
that's-
punch somebody. Or
That's where
all
I
that stuff.
agree. Is I'm like, it looks Western. Like this looks like a
Mm-hmm.
Western version of anime. But I sit in a boat who's watched anime also myself to know like it's like animation is a medium for a reason. Like you can only do so much with live action in within a budget, dude. Anime, like if you have the people who are willing to dedicate the work and time, they're gonna put something on this screen that like nobody else can. Nobody. It's like why Attack on Titan should never be live action.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
That's why
you cannot translate that. Like it's not even human movements because they're drawing people on a piece of paper. It's like the ODM gear doesn't work in real life. None of this shit works in real life. That's
the Last Airbender.
it's like there's so many aspects to it to be like it just leave it to the animation. And if it worked good at it, like the Last Airbender thing is like
It sucks because this one was so much better and it was all right, but it was still just not even close.
not enough at
Yeah.
all. It's that, and that's sad because it's like look at the shoes you have to fill. Nobody's gonna be able to ever. There will never be a live action, especially Last Airbender, that ever surpasses the original show.
That's why it's-
nothing will.
Yeah, that's why recreating
It's
things that are
impossible.
already great like that is well, I guess it can work because The Last of Us it did work. But anyways, we'll wrap this thing up here so we can get out of here because it's 4:00 and almost 4:00, and that's when I said I was going to meet Sydney. So
Perfect.
if anybody watches this podcast, I appreciate you. Maybe it'll grow in the future. It'll keep happening, hopefully weekly. If you have any feedback for us, if you want us to go see any certain movies, if you want us to talk about,
I will not be taking feedback.
okay, well, I will only be taking feedback. So, just leave something down in the comments, give it a like, maybe give me a subscribe, and go check out some of my other quick little snippet movie reviews. That being said, thanks for stopping by.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw, brother.